From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Tuesday, July 8th, and here are today's headlines. State officials say recent deadly flooding in Texas shows how important timely emergency alerts can be, and they're urging more Vermonters to sign up for the state's emergency notification system and other weather alerts. Eric Forand, Vermont's Emergency Management Director, says having a go bag, an escape route, and the most up-to-date information can save lives.
So you're not getting your door knocked on at 2 a.m. when the floodwaters are already there. It's that you knew the floodwaters were coming and you left during the daylight hours in a safe manner and were able to get to a safe location.
VT Alert was created in 2013 to send localized emergency information directly to residents via cell phones, email, or by landline. Only 90,000 Vermonters have signed up, though, and Forand says he wants that number to increase. Former Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin has joined the board of a national cannabis company. Fluent Corp, based in Tampa, Florida, announced Shumlin's role last week. Fluent is a cannabis consumer packaged goods company and retailer that operates in New York, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas. The company says it's looking to expand. Fluent touted Shumlin's ability to provide, quote, insight into state-level regulatory frameworks and national healthcare trends. Fluent is valued at around $20 million. The company went public in 2018, and its stock recently hit an all-time low. During the summer months, bat babies that were born in spring can't yet fly. And if those bat babies, along with their mothers, have gotten into your living space, you should minimize contact with them. Alyssa Bennett is the small mammals biologist with Vermont Fish and Wildlife. Bennett says you can look for any holes on the inside of your house where bats may be getting into your bedroom, kitchen, or bathroom from places like the attic or walls. And you can seal off those holes any time of the year, even when bats have their young. But you don't want to seal holes on the outside just yet.
Because you could either separate the mothers from the young or trap animals inside. And if they can't get out through those holes, they are more likely to end up in your living space. And we really don't want to increase those chances.
If you find more than 10 bats in a structure, report it to Fish and Wildlife, as it could be a maternity colony. And direct any questions about potential rabies exposure to their hotline, and that number is 1-804-RABIES. And finally, Vermont's Agency of Transportation started work yesterday to replace the bridge on Browns Trace Road in Jericho. The project involves replacing the existing single-span concrete T-beam bridge, that's according to VTrans, and construction will continue until August 20th with a detour in place. The bridge was originally built in 1927, and it underwent reconstruction in 1962. Coming up, Vermont's Attorney General has been kept pretty busy over the past few months, joining dozens of multi-state lawsuits to push back against numerous executive orders issued by the Trump administration. Vermont Public's Bob Kinzel speaks with Attorney General Charity Clark to find out why the state's top law enforcement official feels it's necessary to take these cases to court. That's after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from Alpine Telehealth, offering telepsychiatry solutions for Vermont hospital, community mental health, and primary care. Physician-owned and operated since 2018. Learn more at alpinetelehealth.com.
In the past 5 months, Vermont has been party to nearly 24 multi-state lawsuits, challenging executive orders issued by President Trump. Recently, Vermont Public's Bob Kinzel spoke with Attorney General Charity Clark about the key factors involved in those legal actions.
Your office has been very busy in the last few months filing lawsuits challenging executive orders taken by the Trump administration. I think there are at least 20 of them. They include the withholding of federal funds, the elimination of some federal departments, new voting requirements, a ban on transgender people serving in the military, birthright citizenship. As you look at all these different lawsuits, do you see there's a common legal thread that runs through them?
Yes. I mean, I think, and I've said this before, there is definitely a thread of an attempt to consolidate power within the presidency. And I think some of what is motivating President Trump is a desire to define the limits of his power. And the federal courts are doing that. They're, telling him you can't do this or you can do that. And I think that is absolutely a motivating point for him.
It seems like a lot of the plaintiffs are Democratic attorneys general, and there are going to be some folks who see these lawsuits as being a partisan attack on the Trump administration, and I'm wondering how you would respond to that.
There's literally a partisan aspect in that so far it is only Democratic attorneys general who have stood up and said that is unconstitutional and asked the court to intervene, which the court has overwhelmingly done. I do think there is going to come a time when even Republican attorneys general are going to have to start suing because, as the Supreme Court ruled last week, there is a limit to national injunctions, and you have to be a plaintiff in the lawsuit going forward, for the most part, to achieve the benefit of the injunction. So these states that have benefited from the work of the Democratic attorneys general who are filing lawsuits are no longer going to be able to get that benefit unless they themselves sue.
It's likely that many of these lawsuits will ultimately be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. Do you have confidence that the court will rule that the president's actions in most of these cases are unconstitutional?
Well, I would say that the United States Supreme Court justices have already spoken up about this, and which provides me comfort. But in general, judges are for the rule of law. Judges don't like when people violate the law, but especially these fundamental rights that we have, violations of the system we have. We have a constitutional democracy. We have separation of powers. We have sovereign states. All of those are parts of our structure as a country. And I don't think judges like it when the Trump administration is trying to violate that structure. And in fact, the Chief Justice has said more than once that he does not take kindly to the president violating court orders. He has, in his annual report in December, he noted that the judges aren't going to take kindly to this kind of disobedience and rejection of court orders. So I do fundamentally believe that Supreme Court justices are for the rule of law, and I think we have a lot of settled law on these questions, in it, for example, birthright citizenship, and the plain text of the Constitution in some cases is very much on our side. And in the end, I believe that our system, our federalist constitutional democracy, will prevail.
Attorney General Charity Clark, many thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Nina Keck, Mark Davis, Mary Engish, and Jen Jarecki. Today's episode was edited by Liam Elder Connors, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you tomorrow.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.